Okay, this video covers our first full day of talking about spreadsheets in class. So this is our introduction to spreadsheets, and then we get started on an in-class practice file that we will use for several days. So you want to make sure that you keep it because you will turn it in at the end of our unit. Okay, so we spent some time reviewing the basics of spreadsheets. So on this slideshow called Spreadsheets Student Copy 2017-18, you will see, this is on Google Classroom, you can open it and look at it at any time, but you'll kind of see the basics of spreadsheets. Okay, and you can just go through the slides at your leisure and kind of just take a look and see what's in there. We had talked through slides 1 through 4 the other day. So today we just spent some time reviewing them. These are all important things that you need to know on each slide. Then we went down here to the Google Sheets interface, and kids opened up Google Sheets and just started looking at the different functions and buttons. So I gave them 2 or 3 minutes in class to actually look at every menu on here, hold their mouse over all of the buttons so you kind of saw what was available, and there'll be new buttons that you may not have seen before that you want to be able to identify. Then we talked about this formula bar is unique to Google Sheets. You don't see this in Google Docs. This is where we'll be doing a lot of our calculations when we do math in our spreadsheets. Down here is the Sheets toolbar. This is kind of like sheets of paper in a notebook. Okay, you can add more sheets, and each and every tab or sheet allows you to have its own spreadsheet, or you can interconnect them. So slide 6, we spent some time talking about the difference between a spreadsheet workbook and a worksheet. A workbook is the entire file, and then the worksheet is the different tabs, like what you saw previously here. Sheet 1, you could have sheet 2, sheet 3, and so on. Okay. So we made the analogy between a binder and a complete file, and then the pages inside the binder with the worksheets. We also spent some time practicing navigating around Google Sheets. So we used all of these. We talked about these as options for moving around your screen, so you want to practice those and be familiar with those. We talked about how big can a Google spreadsheet get. When you first look at it, it looks like it's about 1,000 rows, but then you'll notice that you can add 1,000 rows at a time. In fact, spreadsheets right now for Google Sheets, you can actually have 2 million cells. Not that we would use those, but that's how big a Google spreadsheet file can get right now. Then we spent some time talking about essential skills, how to size columns. That's as far as we got today. I don't think we got to the other ones. We just talked about the 3 ways to size columns. So I'll show you that over here. You want to come to your drive, and you're going to create a new spreadsheet. This is a file that we are going to be using for several days, so make sure that you do not delete it, and we'll be working on it together in class over time. So whenever you're here, make sure that you're doing what we're doing on the spreadsheet. This one you're going to call your last name, not my last name, but your last name, in class practice. Okay, I'm going to put first hour after it because I have more than one class. You don't need to do that part. Just your last name in class practice. Okay, so we spent some time just looking around the screen, talking about the parts, and then we went to cell A1 and we typed a sentence about what we're going to do this weekend. Okay, so you type in a sentence, and you want it to be a long sentence so that it spills out into the adjoining column, or column B. And what we're talking about here is the 3 basic ways to resize a column. So a common mistake that middle school kids make is if they type something and it spills out into another column, they just skip over and they'll start at the next available column. You do not want to do that during our spreadsheet unit. It will mess up your spreadsheet. So if you type something that goes outside of its column, like my sentence is in column A, but it spills out to B and even a little into C, what you want to do is make the cell big enough, make the column big enough to hold your information. And there's two ways to do that. You can either hold your mouse in between the line, between the column headings. So this is A and B. I've got my mouse between the line. It turns into a black arrow pointing to the right. I'm going to click and drag until I've extended it to cover up the entire sentence, and then release. Okay, so that's one way, and you can make it smaller that way too. The other way is you can just hold your mouse between the column headings, the line between the column headings, get the black arrow pointing to the right, and do a double click, which is 2 quick clicks. And it will find the longest line in this column and make the column fit. So the next one I want to tell you about, the other way I want to tell you about, is called text wrapping. And what text wrapping does is it leaves the column the width that it is, and it just causes the text to go below. It wraps around. So I'll show you what I'm talking about. When you're clicked in A1, you're just going to come up here to text wrapping, use this down arrow next to it, and this is what we're looking at, this one that says wrap when you hold your mouse over it. And notice what it did is it made my sentence wrap around inside the column and did not make it bigger. So generally what you want to do is adjust the size of the column to make it fit, but sometimes text wrapping is a good solution too. So I will usually let you know when I want you to text wrap, but that's an essential skill you need to be aware of. If your stuff that you type in your spreadsheet goes outside of the column, you have to fix that. You can't just switch over to C or some other column. Okay? All right, so that's as far as we got on this first day of spreadsheets, and we will work on some more next time.